So why is my toddler independent 1 minute and then clingy the next? My daughter is 2 now, and it's sometimes hard to know the version of her I'm going to get. One moment she's off on her own walking, doesn't want me to pick her up, just off to the races, and then the next moment she's clinging on to me, grabbing my finger and just pulling me everywhere she wants to go. And it's just this back and forth, right? You never know if she's ever gonna not need me. So this happened again at a park I took her to this week. I decided to take her to a new park, that had all the bells and whistles. Had a zip line, splash pad, merry-go-round. She was, she was excited to say the least, right? We went for a bit of a walk first. It was a beautiful day, and I put her down, and she was just go and play, right? She was just in shock at how big this playground was. She walked up the stairs a little bit, um, went on the swing. Yeah, I could watch from afar and just see her observe the park and just stand, right? Sometimes she loves to just stand and watch. But as we got closer to the splash pad, and this was a pretty aggressive splash pad, it was almost like a fountain style. Kind of like the Bellagio, where all the water shoots up in the air and comes back down, and yeah, she was in awe, right? She wanted to go check it out. And funny thing, as we got closer and closer, at first she just kind of ran up herself, but then as we got closer, she could hear some of the loud water noises, and she pulled me by the finger. I guess a part of her wasn't so sure, and I guess she needed dad, right? She needed dad to to check it out because she didn't know what it was, and so she pulled me closer, and then ran off, and then just went exploring by herself, in awe of the water, and then she would sort of snap out of it, and then come back to me and just give me a hug and grab me by the finger. And there's also this waterfall that she saw, and she grabbed me by the finger, and she'd have this back and forth, right, of moments where she'd want me and where she would just go off on her own. And so you never know what you're gonna get, right? But I don't know why it was that particular day that really drilled the point home for me. But I learned that I should stop looking at it in terms of her being clingy or not, and look at it from a different perspective in terms of she's brave, right? But she's also dependent sometimes too. She's just learning, and when new situations arise, when new experiences come up for her, she's not quite sure. So, in the case of the splash pad, she wanted to explore it, but she also wanted like a safety net, right? And she wanted me there with her, just in case things went south, right? I think that's normal. I mean, I think that'll always, if that's the definition of clinging, my kids will always be clinging. I think there's always a moment where, even as they get older, they'll spend time apart, but I want to be the person that they come to in terms of, if there's an unfamiliar situation, or if there's a situation that they're struggling with, they can come back to the home base, right? I think that's what she was doing. She was just, that was her comfort, and she needed to, she needed me there to experience something new. And I compare it to myself when I went to university. I remember I was so homesick. I'd go home early on in the semester, like go home every weekend, and I just couldn't be out. I couldn't. I needed my safety net, just like my daughter needed her safety net in me. I needed my safety net in my parents. I needed familiar foods and familiar bed, and it just took me a lot longer to assimilate in university, and that never went away. Um, Even as I was approaching my early 20s, now I'm obviously out on my own and living elsewhere, but it didn't just go away, right? It lasted way past the age of 2, and I figure, instead of getting frustrated that she's clingy or she wants me, it's, at some point she's going to be independent, but there's times where I need to be there, and that's the role of me as a dad, that just to reassure her, right? Just to give her a bit of comfort, and I shouldn't take it like, a negative thing, right? I shouldn't look at it like an inconvenience, but I should look at it like, this is my role, this is my job. I'm going to be there for her to, through all the scary moments, right? Even if it's a harmless splash pad, right? Yeah. So I think the takeaway for me is, she's not really being clingy. She's being dependent, right? And I should be there to support her regardless, right? She's not. She's not gonna be clingy forever, and so I might as well enjoy it. Be there to support her, to love her, to be a finger that she can pull around the playground.